In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul Amadeus Lane in the Tech Zone.
Welcome back to the Tech Zone. Paul Amadeus Lane live here, CES 2020. I enjoyed my conversation with my buddy Steve Yule from the Consumer Technology Association Foundation. And before I ended the interview, remember I said I'm going to be joined by a very special guest from the CTA as well? Well, I'm going to have you in suspense just a little more before I bring her on. I talked about this in yesterday's show, where I talked about we were at a industry talk that was by Steve Koenig, who is the VP of Research at the Consumer Technology Association. And Steve talked about the IoT, the Internet of Things. But he said, why don't we think of it in this way? And that way was the intelligence of things. And that blew me away when I heard that. So I wanted to make sure that I had my friends on from CTA to join me today and talk about this. And I have the one, the only, the beautiful Danielle Cassinol joining me. Danielle, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you, Danielle. We have been talking to each other for several years here.
That's right.
At CTA, and you don't get any older at all. I want some of that juice that you drinking. Can you hook a brother up?
Of course.
Sounds good, my dear. Danielle is the manager of industry communications over at CTA. And Danielle, how's your CES going so far?
Good. This is my 9th. So I feel like I finally know where everything is. It's great. It's so fun to be back. So much work goes into it, not just CTA, but the people who help build the exhibits, and all. It takes a village to pull this thing off. So I know as an organization, we're so grateful for everybody who makes it and makes it so special.
Yeah, you know what's crazy, Danielle? We've been knowing each other since 2011. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. And just to see how things have grown over the years, I think back then we were talking about smartphones, tablets, LEDs, OLEDs, 4K. But now we have jumped the gun to digital health. We have smart homes, smart cities, mommy tech, baby tech, you name it, all the tech. Do you think we've entered in the age of technology here in 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen such a interesting progression over the past few years, and that's reflected in how much the show has grown also, because a lot of the categories and the hot categories this week didn't exist 9 years ago. So it really reflects the change in industry. And we have a term we like to say that every company is a tech company now, and you really see that with Delta Airlines keynoting, Moen Faucet with a smart faucet this week, Keurig and Procter & Gamble. So many non-traditional tech companies are here this week too.
And then, that's what blew me away when I remember, was it about 5 or 6 years ago when it used to be the CEA? And remember we were at the Trends to Watch. I think Sean Dubervac gave his talk about the trends, emerging trends, and then Steve came up. And we all in the audience saw CTA. We had no idea what it was talking about until I think it was Sean or Steve got up and said, we are now the Consumer Technology Association. And they explained why it was so. And to see how that decision was made back then, to see where we're at today, you guys were ahead of your time. Hats off to you guys. You guys are awesome.
It makes sense, right? Because it's not just about the hardware. It's a lot more in addition. So the streaming services, the whole area we have at the ARIA C-Space, a place for media and entertainment and content creation. So the definition of technology has certainly expanded.
I wanted to talk to you about a subject I talked about before I brought you on. Really get in depth in that. Steve Koenig talked about the intelligence of things and not the Internet of Things. We're still Internet of Things, but think of it in ways of the intelligence of things. Have we entered a new phase of IoT now, Danielle?
Absolutely. I think that's what Steve was saying, is that we've spent the past decade connecting things to the internet, adding sensors, getting these IoT networks up and running, and that was the Internet of Things. And now we're moving into the next phase of intelligence of things. So the infusion of artificial intelligence and the quality and usefulness of the data we're getting back, and the quickness and usefulness, we're moving into this intelligence and how meaningful it really is.
And when it comes to this intelligence, what is it that we really want the public to understand about AI, and really the uses of AI, and just where we're going in the stream of time when it comes to technology and AI?
Yeah, artificial intelligence means a couple different things, and I think one of the most prevalent ways today is in voice recognition. So the ability to interact with our Amazon Alexas and Google Homes via voice, all the smart home ecosystem that you can interact with your voice. That is a prime example of voice recognition and speech recognition. And then process automation, so the ability to automate processes, so do the jobs that take time or that somebody doesn't want to do, and be able to set that up, and machine learning and image recognition. So there's a lot of different ways that AI is being used in devices, and giving us, like I mentioned before, that meaningful feedback and data, so that it can make a difference in our lives, in consumers' lives.
And where we're at today with AI, especially with the Internet of Things, intelligence of things, 5 years ago, how did AI look and how did the IoT look 5 years ago?
5 years ago, we were probably, let's see, I think wearables were just coming on the scene. So sensors, being able to track your steps and maybe your sleep and activity, and they were kind of fun devices. And I'm looking at what we're seeing this week, and Why Things has a watch that can detect sleep apnea. And there is non-invasive blood glucose monitoring available, so you don't have to prick your finger for the blood if you're diabetic. And so really, think of the advancement there in terms of what sensors can capture and help us monitor these conditions. So sensors have certainly come a long way.
That's so true. That's so true. And we talked about wearables. I remember when Sean Dubervac gave his talk, and he said, should we digitize that? You know what I mean? And when we look at where we're at now with wearables, and how the human body is now the interface now, and AI is really a driver of that, and that really helps out a segment of the population that may not be mobility savvy, disability, aging adult population. And when you look at artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things, it really gives a lot of people a lot more independence out there too.
Yeah, absolutely. I particularly in aging adults and elderly, and I know Steve talked a little bit about this, but you're seeing the convergence of AI with aging adults. Also this week, Care Predict has a system. It's a wearable that the elderly person who wants to stay in their home, and a pack of sensors that you can set up around the house. So it's learning behavior like eating habits, sleeping habits, activity, but the AI comes in to tell if there's an abnormality. So if suddenly they're not getting too much sleep, or if they're sleeping a lot, or if they're moving slower, and of course if they fall or something happens, there are emergency contacts who can be alerted right away, and give both caregivers and the family and the older adults peace of mind.
Yeah, that is amazing where we're at in the stream of time when it comes to technology. And what is one thing we really want the public to come away from here at CES 2020, even though the public is not able to attend, but we're able to let the public know what's coming out of here, especially when it comes into the IoT of things. What is one thing you really want the public to really take away from this year's CES 2020?
Yeah, I think I'd love for the public to see those positive stories that we're talking about, tech for good, enabling people's health, being able to take their health into their own hands and empower them. Tech that's able to support smart cities and third world countries, like drones delivering medical supplies and things like that. In those scenarios, the safety potential of self-driving cars, like there's a good story in all the tech that's here, and it's an exciting future ahead.
It is. I'm so looking forward to it. And if there's one area of IoT that you think doesn't get enough explanation so that the consumers out there can really understand, what would you say that is, if any?
I would think smart cities. There's so much potential in the infrastructure being there to support, lowering traffic congestion, increasing access and safety and sustainability. I think smart cities is a really interesting future that could be better for everyone, and especially as 5G develops and you need those real-time and quick connections, I think you'll see that growing more and more.
And Danielle, I don't really want to put you on the spot with this, but you talked about some smart cities out there. You can explain it better than I can, because I'm not fumbling around with the explanation. But if you can explain to the listener and the viewer out there, what is a smart city?
So I would define a smart city. There can be elements of it. It's not one thing. There isn't one definition, but it would be something like connected traffic lights and real-time data to lower traffic congestion, or the infrastructure in place to enable self-driving cars. And so if they're self-driving cars, then human-caused traffic deaths could plummet, and that would be a good thing. It can be sustainability. There's certainly tons of layers. There are a lot of cities in the world doing interesting things. Amsterdam is one to look at. Barcelona is one to look at. So unfortunately, that's not a great answer, because I can't say there's one definition, but there are a lot of different elements that go into a smart city and making it more enjoyable and safe and productive to live there.
Now, that helps us out a lot, Danielle, because I was having a conversation with someone today about autonomous vehicles. And they were like, well, what do you want the public to know about autonomous vehicles? And I said, they're safer than humans, in my opinion. Have you seen some of these drivers? They are so distracted. I mean, I have a mom. I love my mom to death, and she'll probably whoop my behind after I say this. She's 85 years old. She's like the female version of Mr. Magoo. She doesn't cause the accidents. Well, she doesn't have an accident. She caused the accidents behind her. I want my mom to have an autonomous vehicle. You have no idea how bad I want that. But and I think as we educate people more about smart cities and everything, I think we'll be able to achieve that objective. Before I let you go, my dear, anything else you'd like to articulate about the Internet of Things or about CES? Please do.
It's such an exciting thing. I've touched on the sort of digital health aspect, but that's sort of my sweet spot. And there's a lot of tech that's happening that is addressing real problems and issues like opioid dependence and mental illness and quitting smoking. And so the line between lifestyle devices and medical devices are blurring, and it's becoming much more commonplace, and the potential is there now with the advancements in sensors and what these devices are addressing. So that's my sweet spot.
Hey, I appreciate that, Danielle, and always enjoy the press releases I get throughout the year, keeping us abreast of what things are going on in the tech world. Thank you so much. You and your team do a very fantastic job, and look forward to chatting with you for 9 more years, okay? Well, you enjoy the rest of your CES. Now, is there a website we can give to one so they can keep track of what's going on with CTA and some of the great things happening?
Sure. CTA.tech, year-round, CES.tech. If you're following along at home, in addition to Paul's coverage, you can check out CES's Instagram account at CES. They're doing more real-time coverage of products and some of the fun visual stuff, so that's a great place to go to.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Look forward to chatting with you again.
Thank you.
All right, when we get back, folks, I think we're going to continue our conversation when it comes to the Internet of Things. We need solutions out there that's going to make sure that the wireless connectivity is A-OK and pristine. When we get back, we're going to be joined by an exhibitor here at CES 2020 that's going to talk about what their solution is going to do when it comes to smart homes, smart cities, and all this connectivity and more. We'll be right back after these messages.
In this world of technology, things are ever changing, rearranging. You need someone to help you out. I know someone who can. Come and take a journey with me as we go through the land of technology. You'll never be alone. You'll be with Paul, Amadeus, Lane in the tech zone.